And Premier Doug Ford outlined his goals for the upcoming year as he took the stage at the Ontario PC Party conference this weekend in Niagara Falls.
Across the province, we're getting more homes built faster so that young families and newcomers can once again afford to buy a home. As we build, as we attract new investments, it's never been more clear who you vote for, who's in government, it matters. Leadership matters.
For a closer look at the conference, we are joined live now by Scott Reid, CTV political commentator. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Afternoon, Lindsay.
Okay, so this was a policy convention. So when it comes to policies, what do you think was the main focus for the Ford government this weekend? We just heard him talking about housing quite a bit and building homes.
Yeah, as policies conventions go, this was not too earth-shattering. I mean, really, this is a theme policy, and the theme is let's get back on track. They've had a rough past year. Greenbelt investigation, the OPP question, or I should say the RCMP question still hangs over that. But, you know, overall, the Ford government was somewhat taken off course. So in a lot of ways, this is an opportunity for them to get together, say, all right, let's hunker down, let's refocus, let's get back on track. We've got a new leader of the Liberal Party in the legislature. Let's focus on the economy. And so as far as policy goes, you heard what Doug Ford was focused on. Two things, right? The economy, building homes, attracting investment, and leadership. Leadership. Clearly, the Conservatives think they have an advantage on leadership. They're running ads against Bonnie Cromby. That's something that they want to make a point of contrast.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was going to mention all those attack ads that are already circulating. As much as Doug Ford doesn't want to admit that Bonnie Cromby is a threat, it seems pretty clear that she is a threat. What do you think?
I think there's two things. One, I believe that the Conservatives recognize that if they're going to lose the next election, it's more likely to be the Liberals, because traditionally Liberals can and do get elected to government. Traditionally, the Liberal voter coalition is larger than that of the NDP. So even though the Liberals look a bit down and out, they are watching warily, and they know that Bonnie Cromby has been appealing. They know that she can get elected at the federal and municipal level, so they're keeping their eye on that. So that's part of it. They do see her and the Liberals as a potential threat. And second, they don't want her to get any momentum whatsoever. Starting these ads hard and early with as much weight. I mean, we saw them being played during the NHL All-Star game this weekend. They are trying to keep the Liberals back on their heels. It's not obvious those ads are working yet, at least according to public opinion polls. But I think Conservatives feel like this is the right strategy. Beat back the Liberals, beat back Bonnie Cromby, and preserve their options for the future.
Right, because one could argue, too, that having so many attack ads so early could actually do the opposite. But we did hear Bonnie Cromby respond to Ford's remarks over the weekend, too. She said, quote, they've spent more money doing less than any government in Ontario's history. But we heard Doug Ford throughout this convention talking about how his government has been saving money. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a pretty mailed-in statement. They're going to have to up their game, the Liberals and Bonnie Cromby, if they're going to really draw any blood. That was about as lackluster a response as you could have. They're going to have to decide what their focus of attack is going to be. Are they going to leave, for example, the issue of the Greenbelt and those controversies to the NDP and find new ground? Are they going to try to compete for centrist voters on the basis of the economy? They've got to pick their path to really sort of knocking down the Conservative numbers and establishing themselves as the clear alternative. Right now, they're not the clear alternative. Right now, you know, it's basically neck and neck between the NDP and the Liberals. So it's going to be an interesting number of months and years ahead. Bonnie Cromby hasn't really had a chance yet to make her mark. That's what 2024 is going to be all about. And despite what they say, you can tell that's what's on the minds of the Conservatives. That's why they're talking about leadership.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear. Just lastly, before I let you go, Scott, it was reported there was actually a lot of protesters outside the convention in Niagara, many of them big heads of unions. Is that something the Ford government should feel concerned about, or is this just kind of expected for any government that's been in power for this long now?
It is to be expected if you're in government and you're having hard negotiations with QP, with the public sector unions. I think in addition, for the Conservatives, they sort of feel that this is good definition for them. Sure, there's some controversy and protest, but if you watch the way that they navigate labor politics, they are always making the distinction between public sector unions, which they're happy to have fights with, and private sector unions, which they are keen to form partnerships with. So in some ways, I think the Conservatives pick up on those protests. press say, see, those are the public sector unions. When it comes to the real lunch buckets, the real working folk, well, we're with them. I don't know if that scans with Canadians and Ontarians, but that's the division that the Conservatives want to leave in people's minds.
Very interesting. Always good to get your opinion on this, Scott. I appreciate you taking the time today. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Have a great weekend, or what's left of it.
You too. That is CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid, joining us live.